People are always asking me if I know Tyler Durden.
This is it.
The central question of Fight Club is, what does it mean to be a man?
What? I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
It is an exploration of masculinity and the expectations of men.
Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club.
For most of the film, we're thinking Tyler Durden is super cool and we all want to be like him. And then it slowly starts to turn into, oh no, this is going to a very dark, very ugly, very bad place.
It's determining that masculinity can only be tough and strong and hyper male and hypersexual. This is what toxic masculinity is.
All been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars. But we won't. We're slowly learning that fact.
Why did you just call me? Say my name. Tyler Durden.
So this movie came out when I was 18 years old, and we started a fight club.
And up until this channel, that was Alan's legacy if he left the world. Like,
That was it.
That was all he... Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist, and I love movies. This is
Alan Seawright, professional filmmaker who needs therapy, and we have a guest today.
a special
which is
guest,
why
and
I'm wearing a hat.
I can't believe you're trolling him this hard. You got some brass ones, Seawright.
Hey, look, he's like 700 miles away. I'm probably safe.
He could get here in a jiffy, I bet. So this is Gabe Kapler, who is a former professional outfielder, now manager of the San Francisco Giants. And you just had a hell of a year. Franchise record, 107 wins.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, winner of the NL West Conference and National League Manager of the Year.
Well, hey, we're talking about Fight Club. We should probably start with a fight.
Just before the cameras start rolling, you put that on and Gabe goes, what are you doing?
Are you wearing a Dodger hat right now? Let's roll our cameras and
Is that a Dodgers hat you're about to put on?
oh,
And
brother.
action! Welcome to Cinema Therapy, where Alan is gonna get his ass kicked.
I am trolling a professional athlete and coach.
Do you realize what you've done?
You are a passionate advocate for mental health, especially men's mental health, because you work with a lot of men. Can you want to talk about that for just a little bit?
Yeah, I think what stands out to me, Jonathan, is the feeling that we are really well equipped to take care of our players, our athletes across baseball, but also across sports from a physical perspective. If they wake up with anxiety, severe anxiety sometimes, or depression, or even sometimes suicidal thoughts, we really don't have a method to care for them. The way our sport is going to make advances is by starting to react in real time. The San Francisco Giants and Major League Baseball and professional sports are really setting an example for society, and in many ways, some of the biggest corporations around the country and the world. So we take that responsibility quite seriously.
And definitely for boys and young men everywhere, look up to these athletes and look up to these managers.
I mean, we're seeing it more with young women too. Simone Biles at the Olympics this past year, taking a mental health day basically and not going to compete because she was under too much pressure. That takes an incredible amount of guts, but it shouldn't, right? Like that should just be sort of the default, like, hey, look, sometimes we need a mental health day,
Sometimes you're just compromised, right? Like if you had a sore hamstring and you felt like that hamstring had a chance to tear while you were playing, but we've sort of been taught as these kind of tough, strong, badass athletes that we're just going to play through everything that's really limiting us and sort of not allowing us to be at our best mentally. And we're starting to see the changes, but we have a long way to go and a lot of work to do.
This episode is brought to you by Blinkist.
Did you blink?
I winked with both eyes. That's not the same thing.
Blinkist helps you understand powerful ideas in 15 minutes with insights from over 5,000 books and podcasts.
You remember those notes that you have in college of like an entire book in 25 minutes?
Oh, the little pamphlet thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's like this, but actually so much better.
It's really well written.
Yeah, super well written. What have you been blinking lately?
I blinked Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow.
Ooh.
The biography that
inspired.
That the musical is based on, right?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to do it to compare history to the musical. Did you know Alexander Hamilton was not actually Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Okay.
You can't say no to this, can you?
I read Hold Me Tight by Sue Johnson, who is the founder of Emotionally Focused Couples Therapy, which is actually my favorite type of couples therapy. And Hold Me Tight talks about something called the sour milk test, which is that happy couples, if the milk goes sour, they just get new milk. Mm-hmm. And unhappy couples, if the milk goes sour, they start blaming each other.
Save me, he's eating my foot. Puppies! 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 Come here, puppies!
Really fantastic.
Why do unhappy couples write like they're running out of time? Click the link in our description for a free 7-day trial and 25% off a premium membership. Don't throw away your shot.
Learn new things and discover and understand more about the world around you thanks to Blinkist.
Don't say no to this.
Thanks, Blinkist!
There's a strong correlation between testosterone and sexual aggression, sex drive, and just aggression overall.
Physical aggression, yeah.
Yeah, physical and emotional aggression, right?
Sure.
And this is true of not just for men, but for women, non-binary folk. You know, we all wrestle with finding that balance between our aggressive side, our angry side, our violent side, and our moral center.
Yeah.
Right? And so Fight Club is a perfect little petri dish to explore all of this.
Yes, it is a petri dish of toxic masculinity and just rage-filled male id.
Well, and people don't like the phrase toxic masculinity because a lot of people think that implies that masculinity itself is toxic. And to be fair, there are people who use the term in that way.
Sure.
But as originally conceived, we're referring to a version of masculinity that I call limiting masculinity, which is that it's not okay to be tender. It's not okay to be affectionate. It's not okay to take a mental health day. It's not okay to show...
Yeah, the only emotion you can show is anger.
Or
right?
or lust.
Or lust,
Anger
right.
or lust are allowed. And Freud would call that the id, right? Our base impulses, our sex drive, our violent impulses to create and destroy, and that's basically what we are. And then there's another side of us, which is the superego, which is society's laws, society's orders, what we should be doing. And then in the middle is the ego, which navigates between our conscience or superego and our kind of carnal desires or our id. And this is Fight Club. So we have the narrator. We're going to spoil the surprise, the twist right up front. So if you haven't seen Fight Club and you don't want it spoiled, pause this and watch it and come back. But here's the big twist. The narrator, Ed Norton, and Brad Pitt's character, Tyler Durden, are the same person. Or rather, they're two personalities inhabiting the same body via dissociative identity disorder. And Brad Pitt's character represents the id. He represents all these powerful impulse desires. And Ed Norton, starting with him, he's the narrator and he is the superego. It's all law, it's all order, it's all structure.
Bob had
Right there, that line.
Man with testicular cancer.
We're getting right
You
into
see slobbering all over me. That was Bob.
what he thinks a man is and what a man should be.
Yes, we're men. Men is what we are.
8 months ago, Bob's testicles were removed. Then hormone therapy. He developed it's because his testosterone was too high and his body upped the estrogen. And that was where I fit.
They're gonna have to open up my pecs again and drain the fluid.
Between those huge, sweating that hung enormous, the way you'd think of gods as big.
You cry now.
Man, a lot of those great lines are straight out of the book, by the way.
So he holds him to his bosoms.
And then something happened. I let go.
Really good.
Lost in oblivion.
Lost in oblivion.
Silent and complete.
The Gregorian.
Freedom. Losing all hope was freedom.
Losing all hope.
There's a little foreshadowing there with a smiley face.
Babies don't sleep this well.
So what is the significance of a testicular cancer group? You said it's not subtle.
You know, I mean, he says it out loud.
Yes, we're men. Men is what we are.
He's obviously implying that men who have lost their testicles are not men anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what toxic masculinity is.
Yeah.
It's determining that masculinity is this one thing that can only be this, and it has to be tough and strong and hyper male and hyper aggressive and hypersexual.
Yeah.
That's all that it is.
Is he also saying in that moment that that's how he is experiencing life, as sort of castrated? I mean, that was my part of my my takeaway.
It's definitely that double-edged sword where he's saying, you're not a man because you've lost your testicles, and I am also not a man because I've given my testicles to
the corporate
America and IKEA and whatever else, you know?
Well, and that's a big jab at a man that he's lost his balls.
Sure.
What happened? Your balls drop off?
The central question of Fight Club is, what does it mean to be a man? Like,
Sure.
It is an exploration of masculinity and the expectations of men, and it seems like a journey into dark nihilism, and it kind of is, but it's also a look at what are the motivations and the expectations that drive us, and are those healthy?
Well, and it's also a journey into but deconstruction of.
Yeah.
Like, the entire time it's journeying into that, it's also very much satire of what Tyler Durden is saying.
Yeah. The narrator, in my opinion, at the beginning, he's way over. This is a story about extremes. He goes extreme into superego. He goes extreme into id, and then by the end, he kind of finds the center.
Yeah.
At the beginning, he's so far into superego. You talk about how he gave his manhood to corporate America.
Mhm.
And Gabe, you brought up, and I thought that was an excellent point, that he feels castrated, that he feels he's not a man. So he meets Marla, who is also slumming support groups.
She's a tourist through support groups
Just
to
for
try
connection.
and feel.
Yeah. And so we're gonna take a look at their conversation here, but what his attraction to her is more than physical.
For sure.
I'll expose you.
Go ahead. I'll expose you.
All right, come together, let yourselves cry.
What is the opposite of a manic pixie dream girl? Is it like a depressed pixie dream girl?
Yeah. She sort of fills the same purpose.
It's cheaper than a movie.
I mean, she snaps him out of it. You know, narratively, she's a manic pixie dream girl.
Okay. These are my groups. I've been coming here for over a year.
Why do you do it?
I don't know. When people think you're dying, man, they really, really listen to you instead of just
waiting for their turn to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
He sees that she gets him.
Share yourself completely.
It's a similar thing.
Look, you don't want to get into this. It becomes an addiction.
Really?
I'm not kidding. I can't cry if there's another faker present, and I need this. So you gotta find somewhere else to go.
Candy Stripe a cancer ward. It's not my problem.
Candy Stripe, a cancer ward. He's in denial about his sexual attraction to Marla.
Sure.
But it's not just sexual, at least in my opinion. Agree or disagree?
No, I agree with that. I think he's dealing with a number of things. First, obviously, sexually attractive and self-assured, seductive woman, as well as his own, trying to figure out how to express his emotion, which he doesn't know how to do well, so it just turns into a bit of annoyance. And then the fact that he feels this connection with Marla, right? Because she's going through something similar, but somehow she's way more confident and comfortable in her own skin than he is, and that kind of pisses him off.
Which happens when our insecurities are tripped on, we get pissed.
Yeah. Well, and especially when they're exposed so blatantly directly to your face. And what I love in this, there's this throwaway, nothing thing that happens in that scene where the counselor walks by and says, share yourself completely, which is absolutely what he should be doing.
Yeah.
And his response is he doesn't even say anything. He just kind of does a little, ugh.
Yeah.
And then goes back to berating Marla.
I actually think it speaks to how important the language of a counselor or a therapist can be for men.
You know what I do when I'm mad, Paul? I hit a pillow. Just hit the pillow. See how you feel.
And so often I think some of that softer language, share yourself completely, can be a natural turnoff for some men, and it just needs to be said in a different way to have the same meaning and land better. And I think that's not necessarily the responsibility of the man, although an evolution there is definitely necessary for the narrator. But I think it's at least in part the responsibility of a counselor or a therapist to be able to hit the right marks with more men.
There's your pillow.
Feel better?
Yeah, I do.
Well, so Ed Norton's narrator is repressed. He doesn't know how to be assertive. He doesn't know how to be strong. He doesn't know how to be sexual. He doesn't know how to get what he wants, say what he wants.
Maybe we should exchange numbers.
Should we?
We might want to switch nights.
Okay.
His subconscious creates this other persona, Tyler Durden, to say what he wants to say, do what he wants to do, have sex the way he wants to have sex, do all these things, and to be basically who he can't be.
God, this is crazy.
So go crazy. Let her rip.
Hey, I don't know about this.
I don't either, but who gives a shit? No one's watching. What do you care?
Wait, this is crazy. You want me to hit you?
That's right.
Like in the face?
Surprise me.
That doofy laugh.
This is so stupid.
Just incredible. He's doing so much.
Mother. In the ear.
Well, Jesus, I'm sorry.
Ow, Christ. Why the ear, man?
I f***ed it up.
No, that was perfect.
This really
hurts.
I love how the music coming in here is a heartbeat and it's like awakening.
No, you hit me. Come on.
They just beat the shit out of each other.
Well, I love, like, later on, the fights are more brutal and, you know... Oh, hang on.
Just this moment of two bros.
We should do this again sometime.
We should do this again sometime with a little laugh. Oh, man.
I mean, you just notice that this is the first time they're actually experiencing what it feels like to be in a fight. And, you know, clearly the filmmakers did a tremendous job of demonstrating like how awkward that can be. And
Yes.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, they're both like incredibly awkward, but you can tell like what an incredible release it was for them, and in particular the narrator. I think that resonates strongly with a lot of men who have gotten out physical aggression in many different ways, whether that be through something like this or through like sprints or being on a bike or weight training or anything that allows you to sort of express yourself through extreme physicality. So This is the first time in the film where I feel like I want to be in it. You know, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well,
For sure.
And Alan was a part of that. Can you speak to your experience?
I'm going to share a moderately embarrassing story from my youth.
Welcome to another episode of Alan's Embarrassing Youth Stories, where the only thing off limits is Alan's... Well, nothing's off limits. This is Alan after all. Let's go!
So this movie came out when I was 18 years old. This was targeted directly like at my hypothalamus. This triggered things in my brain. This film did. You know, I was a freshman in college. Jonathan and I both went to Brigham Young University, which is like a church-owned school. So it's a bunch of good, righteous, upstanding Christian boys and girls, right? And we started a fight club. An honest-to-goodness fight club. We didn't do bare knuckle. All the other rules, I think we're going to do the rules scene in a minute.
Yeah.
We followed all the other rules. The only difference was we had gloves.
Yeah.
Boxing gloves.
Which was smart.
It was not smart. But
Which was less dumb than bare
less
knuckle.
dumb. It got to the point where we actually... people were breaking rules numbers 1 and 2. To the point where not only the school found out about it, the news found out about it. We made national news because it's a bunch of Mormon kids running around beating the shit out of each other. And I mean, we fought like it was a real thing. It got to the point where the second edition of the book, Chuck Palahniuk talks about like the Fight Club at BYU as like a bunch of Mormon guys who would on Saturday nights beat the shit out of each other and then Sunday morning walk into church bloody.
Brigham Young University had as many as 7,000 Mormons beating on each other. Isn't that great?
Yeah, they won't drink coffee, but like some coffee, I can't have it. Now let's trip to the waist and beat the crap out of each other.
That was me.
And up until this channel, that was Alan's legacy if he left the world. Like
that was it.
That was all he...
Not my kids, not anything else.
Did you get what you wanted to get out of it? And like looking back on it, would you do it again?
I had a lot of anger issues that I mainly took out in high school playing contact sports. I played lacrosse and rugby. I definitely needed a physical release that was safe for the anger that I had inside. So doing something where it was an agreed upon thing and, you know, we could really beat the crap out of each other and then shake hands and be friends afterwards.
Yeah, which you see in this film.
Which you see in this film, and that's very much what happened at our Fight Club. I don't think it's the path I would take now, but it's probably the path I would take again as an angry 18-year-old.
Yeah. Let's talk about catharsis and the need for an outlet. Now, this is true for everybody, but especially and stereotypically men. I led off talking about testosterone levels being correlated with aggression, needing a healthy outlet so that we can retain our morality. And that's not just men, because there are men who don't need that. There are women who do need that. There are non-binary folks who need it. But people with high levels of aggression, we need a cathartic outlet, whether that's violent video games or heavy metal. I've said it before that some people play violent video games and they feel more aggressive. Some people kill zombies on screen and they don't need to kill people in real life because they got it out through the video game.
It's all good.
I've always been more of a tender-hearted person, not a very aggressive person, not an especially competitive person. And so a lot of things that are traditionally masculine are more my wife's jam than mine.
It is really a good thing that we met in college. Because if we had met in high school, we would not have been friends.
Yeah, that was good. A good piece of timing there.
Why? No, I'm fascinated by the answer to this question. Why would you not have been friends?
Because I was a dick. No, I wasn't. I don't know that I would have appreciated Jono in the way that I did immediately. I mean, literally within 20 minutes of us meeting in college. Again, I was a really angry guy, and Jono was not. Whatever aggression you had, he was getting out by making, homemade Jackie Chan movies, which are great, by the way. And I was smashing into people on the lacrosse field and playing a lot of heavy metal music on the high school radio station. Yeah. And, that was my stuff.
The thing about id, ego, and super ego, the ego is where the two kind of duke it out and figure out what needs to happen. The id just wants to go for what it wants, and the super ego is saying, here's what you should be doing, right? We do need rules. I mean, people who are into S&M, we've got a lot of people who've been in the comments saying you guys should do 50 Shades because it's a terrible representation of S&M. We have no desire to do 50 Shades.
Nope.
But I do understand, there are people who need an outlet for their aggression, even sexually, but there's always rules to maintain the respect and to maintain the safety, and we're going to see a little bit about the Fight Club rules here.
Every week, Tyler gave the rules that he and I decided.
Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. Third rule of Fight Club, someone yells stop, goes limp, taps out. The fight is over.
So this is the person I was. As a young man, I had these rules posted in my room.
One fight at a time, fellas. Sixth rule, no shirts, no shoes. Seventh rule, fights will go on as long as they have to. And the eighth and final rule, if this is your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight.
So one thing that this scene exhibits really, really well is that this entire movie feels grungy.
Yeah.
Right? The Paper Street house is just gross. I think you were telling me earlier that it feels like there's just bodily fluids everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting. This dank basement that they fight in is all moldy and there's dripping water and it just feels disgusting. The team that made this film, and David Fincher in particular, is a stickler for this kind of detail. It's not just the production design looking gross. It's the lighting is very moody. There's a lot of black and things just fall off into shadow. And the sound design is yucky. Every scene, there's nasty sounds in the background. When they're in the bar talking with each other, you can hear all the bar patrons in the background. A lot of times you'll just duck that way, way, way down. And they have it up almost to the same level as the dialogue.
All gone. All gone.
And it's not friendly sounding bar stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's people laughing, but they're not like happy laughing. They're kind of like, you know, angry trucker laughing. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's just, this movie is so textural that it is an assault on your senses. Like by the end, you feel grungy.
Yeah.
You're not your khakis. You were the all singing, all dancing crap of the world.
So to the point about the id ego and super ego, Tyler and narrator, since now that if you know in advance or you're watching it a second time that they're inhabiting the same body, they're influencing each other.
Yep.
Because Tyler's getting narrator to come out of his shell and to fight and to act on his more base impulses, and yet narrator's saying, okay, but we got to have structure, we got to have rules, we got to keep everybody safe, and we're going to see this interplay. But we have the super ego and the id are negotiating here, and then this tug of war is going to start to get more and more extreme as we go.
I think the rule of if it's your first time here, you've got to fight. I think it's a really important piece of the film because I think it's basically like saying you have to expose yourself, right? You have to be vulnerable. You have to go, like even if you're scared to death. I think it's really important in sports that you recognize if you're in a locker room situation or you're in a clubhouse situation that over the course of 162 games. You're going to get exposed. So you better be yourself and you better show up and you better go. And look, like that might be scary for, you know, a lot of people, but at the same time, it can be quite liberating. And I think this is what, you know, the combination of the two characters understood that, you know, even if you're scared, you got to go because it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you open up a little bit, calling back to the scene with Marla and the narrator.
It's also, you know, it gets more towards this later on in the film as they start doing Project Mayhem and everything, but it's also indoctrination, right? If you're going to be here, you've got to be one of us.
Yeah.
You can't just be a spectator. You can't be on the sidelines. If you're here, you're part of the team. You know, I came up playing team sports. I love team sports. I love athletics. I wasn't able to do that as a career, but in my opinion, and I'm sure you'll disagree with me, filmmaking is the greatest team sport on earth. And I know you're going to say it's baseball.
I can see that being critical, like working as a team to produce something like this film. Totally.
Yeah, and it's, you know, what you're doing with your team is you're trying to get all of the guys on your field to achieve the same objective and work together in perfect harmony to make the play on the ball. Obviously, when you got batters up, that's a little bit different. As a filmmaking team, we're all trying to get behind the director and achieve the director's vision to make something that's cohesive and feels like one thing, not like 12 different people having 12 different ideas, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what Tyler Durden is doing here. He's indoctrinating people into, you know, this is a bloody version of it, but it's the same thing as what you're saying, Gabe. And it's the same thing that I do on my sets the very first day is I always start off with a difficult scene that is going to be a challenge for everyone because that way we can burn through all of the obvious problems that we're going to face right up front and we all get bloodied on the first day.
Yeah.
It's sort of similar. I mean, it's not perfectly analogous, but if like a bunch of people were going to go out to a karaoke bar,
right?
And you're saying everybody has to sing because like it's going to be embarrassing for you, and if you're like the cool guy that stands up against the wall, you're still going to have to sing, and then everybody's going to like surround you with love, you know, and
yeah,
you're going to feel way better. And then if you're that dude who has to sing, you always do feel better. You might be a little bit embarrassed in the moment, but it is an indoctrination, and it is critically important to feeling like a part of a team.
I'm gonna pivot here a little bit. One thing about the production design that I noticed, well, and it's more wardrobe than production design, is Tyler Durden set a lot of fashion trends.
Tyler Durden's wardrobe might be the greatest wardrobe for any character ever in a movie.
And
because it tells you so much about him.
Well, okay, so lead off. What does it tell us about him?
On the next exciting episode of Cinema Therapy.
For most of the film, we're thinking Tyler Durden is super cool and we all want to be like him. And then it slowly starts to turn into, oh no, this is going to a very dark, very ugly, very bad place. In a film full of violence and grotesque masculinity, we have this moment of real vulnerability, of real accountability, and real tenderness.
When narrator starts becoming a more whole person here, a more well person, this is the real message of the movie.
This battle between the conscience of the superego and the base desires of the id finally comes to a head in this final confrontation.